I remember the exact shade of the phone screen that destroyed my life. A sickly blue-white reflecting off the condensation of my forgotten glass of scotch. It was 4:03 p.m. on a Tuesday, the day before my sister, Clara, was supposed to marry her perfect, wealthy fiancé, Julian. I was sitting in my custom-built office, the office that the family conveniently forgot existed, watching the market ticker flash green, confirming another $1 million profit. My thumb had hovered over the reply button for 3 hours. The text wasn't from Clara, not from my brother, Marco. It was from Mom. "Honey, about tomorrow. We've decided it's best if you skip the ceremony. It's a drama-free day, and we need to keep things simple for the photographers. You understand. Love you." Drama-free. I didn't just understand. I had paid for their understanding. Every silk flower, every artisanal canapé, every note of the string quartet that would usher Clara down the aisle tomorrow was purchased with the wealth they treated as my infinitely renewable resource, not my hard-earned success. I had transferred the final $40,000 just last week. The entire event, a $500,000 spectacle, was mine, and I was told to skip it to ensure a drama-free day. The scotch glass hit the solid black granite of the desk, not shattering, but creating a sharp, sickening thud that echoed the beat of my sudden, violent rage. It wasn't the exclusion that broke me. It was the sheer, breathtaking audacity. It was the naked, casual confirmation of what I had suspected for 20 years. I wasn't a sister or a daughter. I was the family's ATM, their silent, reliable, and, most importantly, unseen source of comfort. They wanted my money, but not my presence. My capital, but not my complications. I picked up the glass. My reflection in the dark liquid wasn't the 35-year-old CEO I saw every morning. It was a pale, haunted girl again, the one who always had to pay for her own birthday cake, the one whose achievements were always overshadowed by Clara's charming mediocrity or Marco's constant need for rescue. My fingers, usually steady enough to command entire trading floors, started to shake. I didn't text back. I didn't call. I didn't scream. I did something far more dangerous. I smiled, a cold, surgical smile that promised destruction. "Drama-free," I whispered, lifting the phone again. "Oh, we are going to have a drama-free day, Mom. The best drama-free day you have ever seen." The clock on the screen read 4:07 p.m. I had less than 24 hours. The hook was set. I leaned back, staring out at the city skyline, the lights beginning to blur through the sheer force of the tears I refused to let fall. I had given them years of quiet loyalty, years of covering their debts, years of funding their dreams while mine sat neatly packaged in annual reports. And for what? For a text message dismissal? This wasn't about the wedding anymore. This was about settling an account long overdue. This was about forcing them to see the true cost of their drama-free existence. The cost of me. My first call wasn't to a lawyer or a therapist. It was to my head of security, Max, a man whose loyalty was bought with a truly professional retainer, not family sentiment. "Max," my voice was flat, emotionless. "I need to confirm the vendor list for the Sinclair Ross wedding tomorrow. Every caterer, every florist, every transport company, and I need the final list of confirmed guests." "Miss Thorne," Max replied, his tone immediately recognizing the shift in my mood from business to high alert. "That list is already secured. We ran background checks on the venue staff last week per your initial instruction." "Good," I said, a dry, rasping sound. "Now, I need you to implement Operation Ghost Protocol. Effective immediately. 0 visibility. I want to see everything and be seen by no one. And, Max, tomorrow morning, transfer every single one of those vendors $1. Max hesitated. $1, Miss Thorne? To their final balance? No, I corrected, a sharp edge entering my voice. Transfer $1 to their final balance and then cancel the originating contract. Under the terms of the contracts I personally signed, that constitutes fulfillment while simultaneously voiding the service agreement. The silence on the line was profound. Max was calculating the immediate, catastrophic fallout. The wedding is at noon, Miss Thorne. That means by 11:30 a.m. tomorrow, the venue will have no food, no flowers, no liquor, no music, and no transportation for the bridal party. And they will all be legally paid. Precisely, I confirmed. Tell them Valentina sent her love, and tell them all to have a wonderful, drama-free day. I hung up, the cruel satisfaction of the plan already beginning to warm the freezing core of my heart. But that was just the appetizer. The money, the vendors, that was merely inconvenience. The true revenge, the one that would scar them for life, had to be surgical. It had to expose the years of systemic betrayal. It needed a stage, and the wedding, my wedding, paid for with my blood, sweat, and capital, was the perfect theater. I pulled up the bank transfer history. A decade of transactions. The $50K I gave Marco to start his innovative tech concept that turned out to be a crypto scam. The $150K I covered when Dad nearly lost the house gambling on a real estate bubble. And then the biggest drain. Claire's endless stream of emergency funds, designer purchases, and lavish trips. All justified because she was the pretty one, the socially essential one, the one who would marry well and elevate the family name. They had monetized my love and then dismissed the source. Tomorrow, the source would run dry. The morning air tasted metallic. I was already at the grand old Sinclair estate, the venue Clara had breathlessly chosen. I wasn't inside. I was a ghost in a luxury surveillance van parked a block away, Max feeding me the live internal video feed. I was dressed, ironically, in a couture black dress that had cost more than Clara's entire honeymoon budget. I had decided on a look, the specter of wealth, the silhouette of ruin. It was 9 a.m. The first wave of shock was already hitting. On the main feed, I watched as the head caterer, a flustered woman named Delia, threw her hands up at my mother, who was already fluttering with pre-wedding jitters. "Mrs. Thorne, I am terribly sorry," Delia hissed, checking her tablet. "The final $1 payment came through, but the contract is showing as fulfilled and terminated. We are legally off the hook. My trucks are already packed. We cannot risk serving 400 people without a valid agreement, especially with an immediate refund request." My mother's face, a mask usually fixed in perpetual, elegant concern, crumbled. But the food is all prepared. The seafood tower, the champagne fountain. That is all still in our chilled trucks, Mrs. Thorne, and it's going back to the city. We don't operate on charity. I allowed myself a small, sharp inhale of pleasure. Max's timing had been flawless. Minutes later, the florist arrived, only to be met by a visibly panicked Clara. Clara, my beautiful sister, whose life had always been handed to her on a diamond-encrusted platter. She was shouting, her voice tight and high. "What do you mean, no roses? The entire aesthetic is ivory gardenia and blush David Austin roses. You can't just leave." The florist, a tough-looking man with ink up his arms, spread his hands apologetically. "Miss Thorne, the contract was fulfilled per the terms of the electronic signature on the final $1 transfer. My team is packing up the greenery. We are off duty. Have a nice day." Clara burst into tears, her perfect white veil momentarily forgotten. Marco, ever the useless older brother, put a hand on her shoulder and immediately pulled out his phone, likely searching for a last-minute replacement, a search that was doomed because every high-end vendor in the state had been meticulously booked by me months ago. The emotional trigger is effective, Max murmured through the headset. They're realizing the magnitude of the coordinated failure. Wait for the next phase. They're still operating in fix-it mode. They haven't realized the source of the problem is me. At 10:30 a.m., the guests began to arrive. This was the critical moment. My mother, utterly desperate, was trying to salvage the atmosphere, pulling out her own money to try to bribe the departing liquor vendor. "I will give you 5,000 cash. Just leave the open bar setup," she pleaded. The vendor shook his head. "We already voided the insurance liability, ma'am. It's against company policy." The scene was delicious chaos. A wedding party with no food, no flowers, and most importantly, no dignity. The rich, expectant guests, the Julian family, the Sinclairs, were looking around, exchanging tight, judging glances. The gossip was blooming faster than any rose ever could. This was the public humiliation they deserved for their private cruelty. But the shocking revelation wasn't about their shame. It was about Julian. Max suddenly cut in, his voice urgent. "Miss Thorne, I have a complication. I cross-referenced the main guest list with the seating plan they uploaded. Look at table 12. I focused the live feed on the hand-drawn seating chart sitting on the Grand Hall's entry table. I zoomed in on table 12. Mr. and Mrs. Julian Sinclair. And below that, Miss Elara Rossi." My mind stalled. Who was Elara Rossi? Why was she seated at the main family table, directly next to Julian's parents? "Pull up Elara Rossi, fast," I ordered. The screen flickered, showing me a dossier. A beautiful woman, 5 years younger than Clara, an architect, based in Milan. The profile picture showed her laughing, a delicate hand resting on a broad shoulder. The shoulder of a very handsome, very familiar man. Julian, Clara's fiancé. My breath hitched. This wasn't a casual affair. Julian and Elara were pictured together in 3 different locations: a ski trip in the Alps, a dinner in Rome, and most damningly, posing in front of a recently purchased villa in Lake Como with an Italian marriage certificate subtly visible on a side table in the background. "The dates, Max. Cross-reference the dates," I demanded, my throat tight. The dates on the photos and documents confirmed it. Julian had been legally married to Elara Rossi for 4 months. The marriage certificate was legitimate, confirmed by a quick scan of the Italian registry. The wedding tomorrow wasn't just a betrayal of me. It was a spectacular, fraudulent sham designed to trap Clara, and more importantly, to transfer a massive amount of my family's inherited capital into a joint account Julian was setting up for himself and his actual wife. The text message exclusion, the drama-free requirement, it wasn't about saving Clara's day. It was about keeping me, the only person with the financial acumen to spot the red flags in Julian's prenuptial agreement, away from the scene. My revenge plan, which had started as a simple, elegant destruction of a party, suddenly became a necessary, life-saving intervention. They had tried to exploit me, but Julian was trying to ruin my sister and exploit the entire family. My rage transformed instantly into a cold, terrifying purpose. I had to expose him, and I had to do it publicly. It was 11:45 a.m. The ceremony was minutes away. Clara and Dad stood stiffly. Julian, predatory, waited. They were proceeding, blind to the disaster he was. I knew the truth. Julian was legally married to Elara Rossi. The exclusion text was to keep me, the only one who could spot the fraud, away from the kill zone. My revenge was now an intervention. "Max," I ordered, "time for the grand entrance, not mine." A jet-black Mercedes screeched to a halt at the entrance. Max's agents opened the doors. Out stepped Elara Rossi, stunning in emerald green. Every eye snapped to her. Julian went ghost white. Through the hidden speakers, Elara's voice, amplified and sharp, cut the silence. "I apologize for interrupting this rehearsal," the voice began. "But ownership must be clarified. Julian, my love, did you forget to mention me to Clara? 4 months is quite a milestone." The crowd erupted. Clara froze. Julian tried to move, but the agents blocked him. "Julian," I spoke live, my voice through the altar mic, "welcome to the drama. I step in now." I walked from the van, black dress a silhouette against the chaos. I stopped between the altar and the guests. "Good afternoon," I began. "Valentina Thorne, bride's sister, drama consultant." Julian was frantic. I skipped the pleasantries. "Julian, you thought you could pull off a bigamous scam for $2 million and vanish with my family's capital. Wrong." I signaled Max. The projection screen descended behind the altar. First image, the Italian marriage certificate of Julian Sinclair and Elara Rossi. Undeniable. Julian screamed, "Fake! Clara, she's crazy!" The screen changed. Julian's bank logs. Recurring payments labeled RENTALS. "Mom, Dad," I addressed them. Marco wasn't running tech. He was running a high-end rental service. Julian was his client. The account holder was Marco Thorne. Marco crumbled, head in hands. Marco was providing discreet companions to men like Julian. "The money you demanded from me went to fuel this operation and keep his assets quiet," I stated, the full horror settling. "You, mother, protected Marco's lie to save your status. You monetized my loyalty." I held up my phone. The text. "You asked me to skip the wedding. You wanted my money, not my presence. You treated me like a disposable receipt. I decided it was time to send the final invoice." Max's agents dragged a furious Julian away to police custody. The guests vanished. Only my shattered family remained. I produced one last document. The notice of intent to foreclose. "The wedding was the appetizer," I said, dropping the document onto the lawn. "This is the main course. I hold the deeds to everything. I have been the bank. The bank is calling its markers." I watched their terror. "I won't leave you destitute, but the safety net is gone," I clarified. "You will work. You will earn. The doormat is gone." I looked at Clara. "He was married. You are safe. But the favoritism is over. You start from scratch." I turned. The revenge was complete. As I slid into the Mercedes, Clara's broken voice followed. "Valentina, why did you wait so long?" I looked back. I was hoping that eventually the bill they sent me would be for love, not for silence. It wasn't. I sent them the final invoice. The car pulled away. I checked my phone. The headlines were live. Then the encrypted notification flashed. Subject, Julian Sinclair. Location, custody. Message. He sent a message to Marco 10 minutes ago. Anya. My heart froze. Anya. The dead sister whose insurance funded my mother's life. Julian knew something. The revenge was not over. My family's drama-free life wasn't just built on my money, it was built on a grave.